It's time. 1 minute. Well, we have about, good evening. We have about 30 seconds, but I thought I'll just go ahead and say good evening to those that are sitting in the audience today. So appreciate our faithful people that come. So thank you. So I think it's now exactly, we've got a few seconds before 5:29. I'm looking at the official clock here. So I think I'll just go ahead and say welcome to the Nampa City Council meeting. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you to those that are online. We have a tradition here for those that attend on a regular basis, and that is that we open in prayer before our City Council meeting and with the pledge. And I so appreciate Monty Sears, pastor of Christian Faith Center, your faithfulness. You've been here many times. Thank you. So would you like to come forward and open us in prayer?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening in Jesus' name. Father, we thank you for one of the greatest communities in America to live in. We thank you for your goodness, your grace. We thank you for the leadership that you have raised up to lead us into the future. And Lord, we thank you that God Vision is simply your preferred future for Nampa, Canyon County. We thank you for our mayor. We speak blessings over her. I ask that you would give all the city council members wisdom tonight over the agenda. Father, we pray for your will to be done. We pray blessings over those who keep our streets safe, our homes safe. And Father, we thank you for Nampa, Idaho. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Monty, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Jingula.
Here.
Bills.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
Griffin.
Here.
All present.
As we move to proposed amendments to the agenda, I would like to mention that item 8.2 has requested a continuance to date certain of March 18th. When we get to the public hearings, we will vote on that continuation for that particular item. Also, item 9.1 is going to be removed from the agenda. It was on there because we actually continued it to date certain, which we did not need to do because it's not a public hearing. So that one will come back at a later time when it's ready to go. So that's just item 9.1. Other than that, I'm not aware of any. Yes?
Mayor, is it possible for 1.8 to be a discussion, just for clarification
Yes.
and understanding?
Yes, so we'll move 1.8 off of the consent agenda. I'll get to it here. Miscellaneous items, okay? And we will put that on section 2, so 1.8. Is there anything else?
Mayor, I have some questions on 1.4C. So I don't know if I need to move that off the agenda or move it off consent. I just have some questions for Daniel.
I would recommend that we go ahead and move it off of consent, and we'll move it to item 2, so 1.4C. Perfect, thank you. Are there any other questions, things that need to be moved off consent, or anything else? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended as we have just discussed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda, less the 2 items that we have moved forward, and I would stand to approve, if I can talk, I'll get it out right. I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented
So moved. Second. Second.
with the adjustments. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so the next item on our agenda are those items that have been moved from the consent agenda. And so let's start, we'll just go in the order. The first one being 1.4C. And is Daniel here? Daniel is online. Hi, Caleb. Are you standing in tonight? It's so good to see you. Thank you for standing in tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like me to present some information, or would you just like to ask your question?
I just have
And I
some
can-
questions. So,
Sure.
and I'm sorry, I'm like I just got a new laptop, and so I don't have all my tabs open. So I'm not sure what page it was on, but when I was reading through it, and it was just talking about how the subdivision's going to pay 75% and the city would pay 25%.
Yes.
I'm just wondering where that is. Is that in city code, or where did those numbers come from?
Sure. So City of Nampa has a policy for traffic control measure guidelines, and so this comes directly from that adopted policy.
And so if a neighborhood then, like this one, obviously came forward and said that they wanted to have this looked at, if a neighborhood is wanting to do that, what's the process?
Yeah, I should have brought the rundowns for my reminder, but process typically starts with a speed study. Well, actually, let me back up. Process starts with contacting the police department, having them put up some speed warning signs as an initial measure to see if that can trigger the public to slow down on those roads. If that isn't effective, then we move forward with a speed study where we will put out rumble strips that track the speed between 2 points, figure out is it excessive. We use a threshold called 85th percentile typically for those speeds, and if we're seeing that the speed that people are driving is exceeding that percentile significantly, then it typically will warrant some form of a traffic control measure. Once we do that, then we look at an analysis for what measures will be appropriate, what the cost of those measures are, and we work with the HOA to determine what is the best measure based on cost for their situation.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then also, is there a way that, and I don't know if, because I don't have the code in front of me, but is there a way that we could, in the future, get developers to pay for the speed bumps, to have that looked at ahead of time so that it doesn't fall back on the city? I know it's only 25%, but that can add up.
Sure.
When a developer could just be putting those in there initially when they're building their subdivision.
Yeah, obviously it's really hard to determine drivers' practices in the future. We do have a city code that deals with traffic control measures for new development, and that's based on block length. So if there's a certain length of road between two intersections, if it exceeds that length, then we require a developer to put traffic control measures in place. So that measure is there in city code. Unfortunately, it doesn't always solve every situation. So,
Do you know what code that might be?
right off the top of my head, it's in the subdivision code.
Okay.
So Title 10, Chapter 7.
Okay, I was looking at 7. I didn't see
I think that sounds right. Yep.
Say that
Thank
again.
10-27.
27. 27.
10, okay.
it.
20
10-27?
Yeah, it's Title 10, Chapter 27.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Rodney.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
You what?
Okay, so we would need a motion to approve this item if we are so inclined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Everfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
The next item moved over is 1-8. Who would be answering questions regarding this one tonight? Go ahead, come on forward, Doug. I'm trying to remember if council has had the opportunity to meet you. Some, okay. So Doug is filling in for Crystal Craig, and we so appreciate his support and help during this season while she's out.
My pleasure.
So thank you. Okay, question or comment regarding 1-8 for discussion purposes? Did
Well,
you have a question?
I did.
Okay.
If quick summary or explanation of what the 25 Unified Planning Work Program is for Compass and how that affects us as a city, and whether budget or just strictly road closure notification. I'm just trying to get up to speed and what that means.
Yeah, good question, Mayor, Council Member. So what Compass does, any request from their member agencies for their time, they try to plan ahead for that if it's going to be more than 40 hours. And so what the city's doing is trying to better coordinate any lane closures, road closures. It could be from a roadway project, a utility project. And with all the jurisdictions, kind of bumping up against each other, it felt like Compass would be a good good place to help not only house, requests and GIS information, but also this request is to have Compass facilitate an ongoing, whether it be monthly, quarterly, conversation between all the agencies. So there's no cost to the city. It's really requesting Compass's time and their staff resources.
And if I could share where this came from?
Sure.
So when we were working on the Idaho Center Boulevard and Cherry Lane roundabout, I believe it was, there was significant delays. It was not because of us. It was a utility that didn't get their work done. But there was a lot of frustration, and not just about that closure, but a lot of other closures that are happening, and there is a perceived lack of coordination with certain entities. And so they came to us and had some discussions, and actually they were really upset, and so went to the legislative bodies, and they just moved it forward. We've had a number of discussions with them, and actually we have very good coordination and communication because as we all know, the road construction projects are not just city or highway district road construction. There's a lot of development. There are underground utilities that are being put in that maybe are difficult to plan, and sometimes things run over, and we do our best to coordinate and reduce the impact to local businesses. Unfortunately, there has been some impact, and so bringing it up, we decided, because right now with Highway 16 coming in, the city of Meridian, they've got some projects that are just north of us. And so they were planning on, and I think it was McMillan, to be fully closed, and it was for a long period of time. While we were having, and I can't remember what road it was, closed, and so we're looking at that. I think they've changed their plan, but it's greatly impactful. And so we just felt like, in some ways, it takes some pressure off of us because we're really trying to work at reducing impact, but by having Compass be the centralized coordinator of some of this, it's helpful. So I don't know if that also provides some background
Makes
to
great
it.
sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Just
The
didn't know.
goal is to have really good communication and between our jurisdictions and between the city and highway districts. And I tell you, we have an amazing team that is great at communication. But still, sometimes it doesn't always work. Yeah. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Not
Okay.
for me.
Then with that one, that's an action item. I would stand for a motion to approve if the council is so inclined.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Chingula?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Hills?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So just a quick FYI, we're going to kind of skip around on our agenda today. We are going to do the proclamation next. After that, we are going to move, if there's no objections, to new business items 1, and we'll probably go ahead and do 2. We have our Community Citizens Academy tonight, and it is starting over at the police station. Amy heads that up, and she needs to get there. And so we will go ahead and do the proclamation with LEAP, and then Amy we'll move to new business to get yours out of the way so you can get over there. So we do have a proclamation tonight, and Bart Cochran is here this evening, and you're welcome to come up while I read the proclamation, then I'll hand it to you and I'll let you say a couple words. So the proclamation is, whereas the City of Nampa recognizes the critical need for affordable housing and is committed to fostering initiatives that address this need within our community, and whereas affordable housing developers play a vital role in creating accessible and sustainable housing options for our residents, contributing to the overall well-being and vibrancy of our city, and whereas LEAP Housing, a local nonprofit organization, has demonstrated exemplary dedication to the development of affordable housing projects that uplift and empower individuals and families. And whereas the unique occurrence of LEAP Day provides an opportune moment to highlight and commend the efforts of LEAP Housing in advancing affordable housing solutions within the city of Nampa. And whereas February 29th, 2024, being LEAP Day, is a fitting occasion to proclaim our support for affordable housing initiatives and acknowledge the positive impact of LEAP Housing in our community. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim February 29th, 2024 as LEAP Housing Day, and I extend appreciation to LEAP for their commitment to creating, preserving affordable housing opportunities in our city. And I call upon all residents to recognize the importance of affordable housing and to support initiatives that contribute to the equitable development of our community. Bart, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the proclamation. It's a great boost in the work that we're doing.
Well, thank you for the work in Nampa. Would you like to share any specific initiatives in Nampa?
I think probably, our organization is a nonprofit organization, but most notably, the work that we're focused in is around preservation. Most notably in Nampa, the purchase of Golden Glow Tower, which Mayor Kling joined us to cut the ribbon for, and our work in the home ownership space. Our belief still is that low-income households, there's no greater wealth-building tool than home ownership. And so we'll continue, I think, to look for opportunities to be able to advance that work across the Treasure Valley and throughout the state of Idaho.
I tell you what, the commitment and the partnership on the Golden Glow Towers, as I said the day that we were there with the grand opening, two of my husband's grandmothers lived there until their death. And to see the commitment, and when they were looking for someone to take over that facility, they could have sold it for a lot. They chose to transfer that and sell it to LEAP, and for LEAP to steward that, but to not only steward the building, but to steward individual lives because of your commitment to individual lives and honoring the lives, especially of our elderly and those that are in need of that housing. So I just want to say thank you for your commitment. And I think you have, I know there are other projects, but specifically for that one, thank you.
Thank you
for
very
your work.
much. Yeah,
Thank you for working on
Yeah.
our community.
Yeah. And thanks for, this was a unique opportunity, I think, to celebrate LEAP Day. It's a leap year, as you all probably know, and this is a bonus day of the 29th. And I couldn't tell you how many phone calls came into our office and said, hey, what are you guys doing on LEAP Day? This is obviously meant to be your day.
Your day.
It only happens once every 4 years. So it's been a really great opportunity, I think, to be able to try to keep housing affordability in the public conversation, to just remind folks that this is still a major issue for the community, and there are folks who are precariously housed all around us. And so we're really excited. The support from you, Mayor, and from City Council helps us kind of build a little more and more momentum. And so what's neat is this proclamation will join on the day of, we'll join the governor as well, proclaiming statewide at LEAP Housing Day as well. So
awesome.
We're hoping that there'll be lots of fun announcements we'll be able to provide that day, and a continuation of spreading some more information to the community about what is the status of housing affordability in the community, what opportunities are there for people to really engage in the work. So we think it's people-powered type of work, so it takes everybody playing a role, especially a body just like this, in making this kind of work happen. So we're super thankful for your partnership in that.
That is great. Thank you. Thank you for your work. What a great idea. So come on forward and we'll give this to you, and then she's going to grab a picture. Council, you can all circle around real quickly, be in the picture. Come on. Yeah, come on. Here we go. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Oh, wait. Councilman Bill, please reach out. Ready? Thank you. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait. 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care. Good to see you. Thank you.
What did you get for being so tall?
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to move right now over to new business, item 7.1. And this is an action item. This is to authorize $50,000 for educational outreach expenses related to the general obligation transportation bond ahead of the May 21-24 election. Amy, thank you for being here, and thank you for all your work.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited, and Caitlin and Zaire and I are all excited for this opportunity with Mark and Doug and the whole team to educate our community about a $38 million transportation bond, which will be on the May 21st ballot. So I have, in the packet was information related to HART expenses. We will do everything possible to do as much as we can with as using those dollars very fiscally and with good stewardship in mind. So I'm not sure what questions you may have regarding what was outlined in the packet.
Council, do you have questions regarding what Amy provided? As the second page that was in the packet, as noted, is an example of public outreach expenses. The last bond ranged around that $50,000 mark, but that also, prior to beginning the project, all of the graphic design was already done. There was a lot already done. This time, that isn't done. And so Amy, in putting together a presentation, thought she would try to keep it within what was spent 6 years ago, I think it was.
Yes, yeah.
So in 2018, but it's going to take a lot of work. But it is just with the goal of having clear communication to help our public understand what the bond is and the reasoning for the bond. So any questions, comments?
Madam Mayor, I just think it's commendable that you would try to stick with the same budget in today's environment of how things are so expensive. So good luck with that.
Thank you. Well, and we did receive some feedback on maybe adding some more voters to our list. So initially, what the biggest cost really will be a direct mailing costs, and that's even with a reduced cost through auto sort, through saturation mailing, there are reduced rates, because I can't even remember what postage is now, 66 cents. So the saturation rate is 19 and a half cents, I believe. That's for everyone within the city, but then when we only mail to voters who have voted recently in election, it goes up to about 33 cents. And so actually, I added in some more voters, and so that cost will increase slightly. So these were estimates that we had at the time of the packet submission, but we will do as much as we can to stretch every dollar. Social media will be a big part of that. I'm excited that I think we'll be partnering with Peppershock to purchase some ads that you would see before you watch like a KTVB or Channel 6 news, and actually even with Hulu. And so trying to reach the audience where they're at in addition to direct mail.
I have one question and only one. I promise to limit myself. What is the total household count within city limits?
It's about 33,000.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 7.1 on our agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
I'm going to stay consistent and say no.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Amy, thank you for your work. I know it's going to be hard to get it done for that, and I know how hard you already work, so thank you. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do 7.2. Rodney, we may come back and do your staff report following public hearing, if you don't mind. Okay. I'd like to go ahead and move forward with 7.2. This is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the Links Library Consortium Joint Powers Agreement. And Claire is here to answer any questions. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
I'd like to share, as I wrote in my narrative, that we've been acting illegally apparently for several years in our consortium. Didn't know that, so we're trying to remedy that by becoming a joint powers entity. Boise now has most of the authority. There are 11 member libraries in our consortium. This will make all authority equal. That's another great thing. There also will probably be some cost savings because we pay Boise a lot of money right now. We'll have other costs, but I think we'll make up for that and we'll be in great shape.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that. Council, do you have any questions? Or a motion?
Mayor, I'll authorize Mayor to sign the Links Library Consortium Joint Powers Agreement, and thank you, Claire, for all your work on this. This is a great thing for Nampa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. And Victor, thank you for sitting on the library board and being the liaison. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So rightfully so to make the motion.
Right
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Jingula.
Yes.
Hills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Claire.
Okay, so Rodney, would you prefer to do your staff report before public hearings?
I would, Mayor, just because
Come on down.
Bree is here with us, and she was going to leave if we went after
Let's
the
get
public
yours
hearings.
done then. Thank- That's
Here.
okay, it'll take we'll let you get
Here, you
queued
can
up.
just use mine.
Yeah, we will. Uh-huh. And who's doing the, am I missing Jeff? Who's doing the Public Works? Oh, there you are, Jeff. I'll put you on next, okay? So we're kind of going backwards up here, but you'll be on next. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you recall, back in 2020, we did our first report to you, annual report. And since then, we've been doing quarterly reports and then annual reports at the end of each year to give you just some data about population, about historical annual dwelling units approved, average gross densities for approved final plats, annual history of acreage used per dwelling units approved, and multiple family units approved by type compared to other communities and historical averages. We hoped that this data would help commissioners and council see the impact of development-related decision-making and help them make more informed decisions for the future. I think this has been really helpful. I've seen multiple applicants use the data that's in these reports, especially in the annual report, as they make their presentations. And I've also seen this used just out in the community when people are making decisions about development. So it's been helpful. However, it was our first initial effort. We knew that we would need some updates to it. We would need to make this a little more formalized, but it was our first step over the last 4 years. And I think we've taken some significant steps there. However, this year we have upped the ante a little. This is a more formal report with a little more user-friendly interface for the report. And that is solely due to one of our team members, Brianna Sun. She took the reins on this, and I just have really appreciated her professional work on this report. And we will continue to do these reports and update them and provide more information to you. I only have a few short minutes to talk about this, but I wish I had, half an hour to an hour to talk about the details in here. There's a lot of data that can inform your decisions, and I hope you take the opportunity to look back on that report. But I'll just highlight some key things that we found as we went through this. In 2023, the total applications and applications year over year are found on pages 5 and 6, and you can see that there. 473 total applications were received in 2023. We have seen steady increases in the number of applications received since 2023. We're going to skip over the subdivision plat data, but that's, I would encourage you to look back on that. Page 8. In 2023, we saw a significant decrease in the number of approved multifamily units compared to previous years. A total of 373 units were approved, and you can see that drop there. And the yellow is going to be the units approved through other entitlements. So that includes not just subdivision. The green is the subdivision, and then the CUPs, and then the yellow is all the other entitlements. Page 9 and 10 are density trends. And we're first going to look at the preliminary plats, and those, of course, are those that will be approved, that you will see in the next 3 to 7 years or even longer. It takes a good amount of time to develop preliminary plats. The yellow line is the number of units, and the green is the acreage consumed with that development. The larger the gap between the two lines, the denser the developments being approved. So in 2021, we had our largest spike in units approved through preliminary plats, and it dropped in 2022, but depending on what is ultimately approved, may rise again in 2023. So you can see that last little lighter line there showing what's potential. It's still in the works. So they've applied in 2023, but if they're approved through the process in the next couple months, then that number could go up. Now let's look at the final plats, those that are anticipated to begin construction within the next year or two. Those are much shorter time frame. This time we see the spike in 2019 and then another in 2022. And remember that these are the result of preliminary plats that were approved 3 to 7 or even more years ago. And so you may feel like, wait a second, we have been approving different types of development. And you're seeing those come about because of approvals that were done maybe even years ago. So that should tell you how, the preliminary plats are going to tell you what you're going to see over the next, 7 years or so. And the final plats are just really, really short term here. The density for what has been approved in preliminary plats rose significantly in 2022. This means that we will likely see more dense development in the coming years. Density for final plats showed the opposite trend as developments that were approved in years previously were approved at much lower densities. 2023 appears to show a change in that density trend, and we anticipate this to continue to trend upward due to the preliminary plat trend. We're going to jump to the maps where these developments have been approved. So this one's the preliminary plat. You can see, I think this is really a neat slide right here because I'm kind of geeky, I know, but the preliminary plats that were approved in the last year were primarily infill. If you look at this, you can see it's in the core of our city. There's a few on the outskirts, but really these developments are occurring inside the city core. And so that's good development. That means that utilities are there, services are typically there, the infrastructure is there to support that. Let's go to the next slide, which is the final plats. And you can see that as opposed to in the previous years, we've had the northeast and the southwest be the areas where we're seeing development occur. And now we're seeing kind of a different trend. The northwest and the southeast are where those final plats are coming in the past year. Next slide. And this is no change from the previous quarterly report we gave you, just 2 little tiny short plats that we've done. All right, let's jump back up to page 11. Dwelling units approved versus committed through the final plat. This page shows the units approved through preliminary plats versus units that have been committed through a final plat. That's what we mean by committed. It's the final plat kind of locks it into place. This is really showing us that it takes time from when a project is approved to when it is constructed. For the units approved in 2020, 94% of them have been committed or likely constructed, whereas last year in 2022, only 18% of the units have been committed. We have a total of 2,528 units that have yet to be committed through that final plat. So a lot of approvals, but nothing really locked into place yet with not nothing, but a small percentage that have been locked into place with a final plat. So you could see quite a few final plats coming up here in the next year. Annexation trends, page 12. 19 annexations were approved in 2023. 7 are still under review. If those were to get approved, we will be right on track with what we've seen in the past years. Commercial and industrial design review, that's page 13. Since 2018, we have seen a steady increase in the number of design reviews submitted, with 55 in 2023. That's partly because of commercial interest, but it's also industrial. Right? This is new to us. So industrial design review has happened, and you can see that on that last slide there, 2023, that dark area shows that industrial, which is 9. Without that, we'd be about the same as the last year. All right, page 14 and 15. have to do with future land use map designations and acreage. So for the city's area of city impact, we are just under 50% incorporated for the future land use map designations. Over 30% of our area of city impact is designated as medium density residential. And you can see that on this next slide there. This is the greatest number of parcels. Am I getting that right, Bree? The greatest number of parcels or acreage. The greatest amount of acreage, thank you, is in medium density parcels. So that's what you'll see throughout our community primarily is that medium density development. And sometimes you'll hear from others, hey, City of Nampa is going gangbusters on multifamily or high density. It just doesn't show in the numbers. This is only those that are annexed, not that are in the future land use map and not annexed into the city. One final note on that is I want to emphasize, can you go back 2 slides? Right there, that bottom graph there, it shows just under 50% as annexed, but it's not referring to development. So you could have a lot, and we do have a lot of county subdivisions and development that have occurred that aren't developable, right? So we may be only taking up half of our city of impact area, but that doesn't mean that we have 50% of our impact area to still develop out. That's a totally different number. Okay,
Rodney,
so let's.
Rodney, can I ask you a quick question? So we've got a lot of enclaves within the city of Nampa, not counting what's in our impact area, but just in the core city limits. Do you have any idea how many, I don't know if you want to say how many acres that is or what percentage of our within city limits is actually counting enclaves or properties that are enclaves?
Mayor, council members, I can definitely get that data. Craig and GIS is more than happy to provide that and help us out with that, but I did not include that in the report.
Thank you. That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
I was looking at it the other day. There's only 2 main areas that have really large enclaved areas that could be a large development. The rest of them are smaller, but there's a lot of them still.
Well, and I guess it might be good to have a separation between undeveloped enclave property and residential or developed enclave property. So if you could distinguish between the two, that would be very beneficial, because I think we've got a lot of homes that are in the county rather than the city.
And I think I'd like to add that to our report next year. That's a really good idea. So we'll get that data for you this year and then also just include it in our report next year.
Yes.
So also, Rodney, and would be on the maps, a couple of the maps, the enclaved areas don't show up real distinctly. And so it'd be helpful for that color change if we could.
Yeah.
So
certainly.
the information of acreage and then the color change would be extremely, and 2 different colors. So if it's county subdivisions versus bare land, would really provide some useful information.
It's good, really good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are on page 16, residential zoning districts. For residential zoning districts, most of it is the RS6 zone at just under 8,000 acres. For zoned residential properties, 80% of it falls within the medium density residential land use designation. So you can see that there. Again, this is that slide that I would just point to if people said, well, man, we have multifamily everywhere. I'll say, it's just under 6% of our development is multifamily. Page 17, non-residential zoning. For non-residential zoning districts, most of it is IL at just over 3,000 acres and BC at nearly 2,000 acres. We're going to skip the next slide, but it's about specific area plans. And then To wrap it up, it is important to keep in mind that this is the first edition, that we have room for improvement. And as you have identified some ideas, we will definitely take that into account and bring that back to you with those changes in the future. And I'd appreciate any feedback you have for me. I love this kind of stuff. It makes me excited because I look at it and I think about all the possibilities, and Bree's the same way. We kind of geek out on it. So we'd love to hear your feedback and ideas.
Rodney, thank you. Council, comments, questions?
Comments? So Rodney, appreciate the information. Part of the reason to identify those enclaved areas, I got contacted in the past week regarding a community that's having water pressure issues. It's a county project needing to consider city and how to work through some of those issues. So it's helpful information to have that you've been putting together, because then it's a quick identification for council as those discussions. Engineering's working with the party, and so then to be able to say, oh yes, there's that subdivision. It's also to plan ahead for some of the issues that could be forthcoming. A lot of those county projects have been in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
There's issues forthcoming.
Yeah,
So I thought that was really good. The other comment real quick is how many, or how long, preliminary plat approval, because there was a couple of them that came back for council here recently that originally approved several years ago, and then back with a revision. Is there any sunsetting on those preliminary plats?
There is. In the past, we've said or in our code now, if the first final plat gets approved, it's locked into place. However, if that final plat expires after a year and a half, is that right?
Preliminary plat expires at 18 months.
18 months? And then the final plat,
They have
the
1 year
first
to
final
record
plat is 1 year?
To record it.
To record it. So if a preliminary plat doesn't have a final plat within 18 months, then it expires. If the final plat doesn't go within a year after that, the first final plat, then the preliminary and the final plat are expired and they go away. So that's a way to keep things moving. Yeah, but in the past, we didn't have that. We added that just recently into code.
And does that go back and pick up those that have been somewhat
doesn't.
dormant for the past several years or not?
It doesn't.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Mayor, really quickly, Rodney, this is awesome. Thank you so much. Back to residential zoning districts, any idea where Meridian falls in that high density compared to us? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that. Bree, you have any insight there from your
Mayor,
data?
council members, I did compare our report with Meridian's annual report. They just gauge a little differently than we do. They have different zoning districts. They allow different uses in different zoning districts. So it was a little tricky to say exactly, compare apples to apples, if you will. Generally, I would say they were developing more higher density than us, but it's still a little tricky to say exactly, like I said, apples to apples, just because they have different zoning codes than we do.
And I'll say that the permits that they've issued for multifamily units exceeds ours. So that's one way to look at it.
Any other comments or questions? I just want to say, Bree and Rodney, great job. I love the presentation. I like how the graphing and everything, it's really easy to track and follow. This is awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we are running late getting our public hearing started. As Jeff comes forward, I do want to say that we did not have anyone signed up for the public forum this evening, the opportunity to testify. I guess when Jeff's done, if there is someone that had intended to, even though they hadn't gotten signed up, I will give you a quick opportunity to do so. Good evening,
Mayor
Jeff.
and City Council. A quick update on the wastewater treatment plant progress tonight. Again, this is the same slide I've shown for well over a year. So the amounts haven't changed, the total amounts haven't changed, just the progress toward those total amounts have changed. About 82% done with the project. Again, everything is on schedule. We anticipate a lot of the completion happening in the next few months on the major pieces of equipment, and then the schedule acceptance date is October 31st, 2024. So we had the governor visit a couple weeks ago. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, and those of you who could make it. That was a good morning. I felt like Nampa was highlighted the good things that are going on in the city. The facility startup and staff training. Again, these staff are working hard right now to really learn these new facilities, and we're expanding. Maybe a third of the plant is new, and these guys are working with Jacobs on all the new facilities. And then I just want to quickly, this is the process for someone that doesn't know anything about the plant. So our existing wastewater plant's on the left. We've done some improvements there. In order to get to this Class A reuse water, it goes through a sand filter. Then it goes into ultraviolet disinfection. And that last step, that ultraviolet, gets us to that Class B. In the summer months, goes to the Phillips Canal. And in the winter months, it goes to the Indian Creek. And so that, in a nutshell, is a $182 million project. I want to highlight for you the progress on the recycled line. So in the summer months, the water, the Class A water is pumped from point A, you can see it up there, to the outfall, which is in front of Fred Meyer, and they're constructing that right now. That's a bore pit to your left. That's how they're getting underneath the railroad. That's a picture of the high-density polyethylene pipe on the left, and you can see that that pipe is bulletproof, so that's the reason why we're using it along the railroad. The picture on the right is actually running it parallel with the railroad. This is a rendering of the design of where the outfall is, and nobody, not I wouldn't say nobody, not very many people see the wastewater plant. It's it's behind the scenes, and a lot of that's for a reason. But this will kind of be the front door of what we're doing, and it represents all the improvements that have been done to the city, and it also represents our kind of future of, we have one water here. We oversee all these, the stormwater, irrigation, domestic water, and now reuse water in the city. So we want to use this plaza as a way to teach the public, to bring tours there, and really represent the good work that's happening at the plant. This is a rendering of the front. That bullseye is actually going to be different. Some sort of design is going to be in that. We haven't determined that yet. This is looking from Caldwell Boulevard. And as you can see, those tree wells act as energy dissipators because there's a lot of water that comes out of 11 million gallons a day. This is the actual construction right now, so you might notice that as you're driving by Caldwell Boulevard. It's starting to look like the rendering, which is very exciting. They are well ahead of schedule on this, and then there's a phase 2 when we get into the kind of the more park features. And really excited to kind of clean up that area. If you can remember years past, that was the area we had all the crows, and I mean, it was just so ugly. And this is going to be part of it. We can also, there's a future option here where maybe we can tie into the public pathway system, but this is going to be a really good for the community, and then also for teaching the community what's going on. So with that, thank you for your time, and that's an update, and appreciate it.
Are there any questions for Jeff? Really great job. I tell you what, so they knocked it out of the park when they had the governor here, and the governor commented on several times after the time that he was with us that he was so amazed that we were on time and in budget. That's a big deal because he said, I don't hear that very often, something that you can be very proud of. I appreciate the team that has worked together. We've had a great team. And Jeff, thank you. And a really good job. This is exciting, and I hope you guys have driven in front of Fred Meyer and see the beginning of this taking shape. It's pretty cool. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Okay, I do want to very quickly honor, is there anyone here that had intended to testify during the public forum time for an agenda or non-agenda item? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on since we didn't have anyone signed up. And with that, we're going to move into public hearings, and we will start with our first public hearing that is 8-1 on the agenda. This was continued from the February 5th meeting, and this is a request to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to approve the adoption of the revised streets capital improvement plan. The revisions include changes to the streets projects and changes in the calculation for the impact fee contribution to projects with the city and other revenue sources. The total year street CIP dollar amount and associated streets impact fees do not change. Our city attorney, Victor Villegas, actually reviewed this, and Patrick Sullivan will provide the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We bring before you tonight a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to adopt a revised streets capital improvement plan for impact fees. This issue was brought to the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee on December 7th, and it is to basically approve adding the Ustick-Star intersection widening and State Highway 16 to Canada projects to the capital improvement plan so that these projects can then be eligible for using impact fees to offset grants, and then also use impact fees for the projects themselves. So I'm going to let Caleb explain a little bit more about the projects and show them on the map, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the action item.
Caleb LeClaire, Assistant City Engineer for Nampa. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share a little bit more about these projects. So I'll bring the map up here. So if you direct your attention to the upper right-hand portion of that map, you'll see Ustick Road, you'll see a green line, and you'll see a green circle at the intersection of Ustick and Star. So that's what we're talking about today. So we're adding that project to the capital improvement plan so that the city can use traffic impact fees towards these projects. We have some grant funding opportunities that have presented themselves through the state because of Highway 16 impacts, and utilizing traffic impact fees, which we feel is appropriate, would go a long ways to helping us towards completing these projects. So the intent with this is that the city, in conjunction with Nampa Highway District, would focus on widening the southerly half of Ustick Road between Canada and Highway 16. That would bring it to basically a 3-lane section. So we'll have 2 through lanes and a center turn lane. We're working with ACHD. They have their jurisdiction to the north. So we're working actually with them to complete a full widening of this road that would include all 5 lanes and a center turn lane. So we have some good partnership there we're working together with them on. So that'll be a great thing. Star and Ustick intersection will be very important again because of the added traffic from State Highway 16, since there will be an off-ramp, on and off ramp to that facility onto Ustick Road. So Star Road, that intersection is going to see quite a lot of traffic increase. And so fixing that in the near term is going to be very beneficial for the city. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if people have them.
Mayor Kling. So Caleb, Ustick, will that be an elevated crossover of Highway 16 long-term?
Yes, Councilman Haverfield. So Highway 16 will be an overpass over Ustick Road, and then
so
on and off
Ustick
ramps.
will stay at grade?
I believe so. Did I have that right, Doug? Thank you.
Yeah. Further north, I understand that those cross streets will be at grade, and then Highway 16. Oh, actually, Highway 16 would be at grade because of the number of lanes that you're creating. So that's why I was wondering, is this going to be a crossover that's elevated, which makes more sense, possibly, but with what you're talking about, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's supposed to be remaining at grade.
I'll let Doug, fill you in on that. Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, council member, at one point in time, excuse me, Highway 16 was going to be at grade. as the design progressed, so that's going back several years ago, they did a value engineering study and they flipped that around. So through the corridor, Highway 16 goes over
Okay.
the
So
side
the
streets.
improvements that are being made will be able to be retained?
Yes,
That was my only question, because if it was going to be elevated, then obviously you'd be taking part of that road back out initially.
yes, you're correct. In fact, the Highway 16 improvements are, as you know, they're in process now with the ramps coming down to U-Stick. That work will be completed before we get under construction on U-Stick, and then probably concurrent with that, ITD plans to go into phase 3, which will actually complete the interchange with the bridge over U-Stick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any
Mayor
other? Yes.
Caleb, why do we need to revise our impacts or impact fee study?
Councilman
I mean,
Rodriguez.
we already have it in place. It appears that the impact fee study is going to remain as is. And what if about inflation? What it increases? And what part is going to increase for the city and residents, if it will?
Councilman Rodriguez, I'll do my best to answer that question. So the impact fee study itself is not changing. There are no increases or decreases in the total dollar amount that are accounted for in that study. And so the impact fees that we charge are not changing based on the action that we're taking here today. All we're doing is adding projects to the list. So we as a city cannot expend traffic impact fee dollars on a project that is not on the list. So we've gone back through this list. We see the importance of these projects, and we want to add these so that we can really leverage those traffic impact fee dollars to help us with this important project.
And if I could I add to that just a tiny bit? Also, Highway 16 was not anticipated to get completed this quickly.
That's true.
It got completed ahead of schedule. And so what happened was, because this wasn't on the list and it's completed ahead of schedule, now we have to deal with, the traffic mitigation. The other thing that was different was that the state, through their strategic fund initiative, provided grant dollars that we could go after in order to get this work done. But the work has to be done within a very short time frame.
Very quickly.
So if we did not take the action and add this to the list, we would not have been able to have gotten $10 million to fund this. And, we would have missed the $10 million, and then we have to get it done within a short time frame. So that is just an addition.
Thank you for
if
that
you don't mind.
clarity. That's great.
You just answered my next question. So
Okay.
thank you.
Good.
Mayor?
Yes.
On the expense report, or however we'd break it down, the budget report, it says that these projects were eligible for 55% and 70% of impact fees, but it ultimately decided to be 29% and 19%. Why didn't they qualify for more impact fee dollars?
It's a really good question. I do not have the answer to that.
Doug does.
Maybe, can you?
There
Thank
you go.
you. Appreciate it.
Mayor, Councilmember,
I think I know.
what we looked at was the eligibility of the projects. So they're eligible for the 55%, but we're made a commitment to try and leverage the impact fee dollars to the extent possible. So with the Strategic Initiatives Grant, that $10 million allowed us to reduce the amount of impact fee dollars that went to these projects.
It keeps those dollars available for other projects. In the ideal world, we were using no impact fee dollars, but unfortunately, $10 million, the project itself costs more than $10 million, which is requiring us to use some.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more, Mayor. So I'm looking at the new business, the action item, and the breakdown, and I noticed there was 2 individuals that had opposed the motion to approve this. What were their reasonings to oppose the motion that was carried?
Mayor and Councilman Griffin, I can answer that. Prior to this motion being put forth as an action item, there was a lengthy discussion during the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee just about how high impact fees were. And I think that The two people that voted no, they may have thought that it was going to raise impact fees. We were very clear in the presentation, and initially it was going to be held over because they didn't feel like they had enough information. And then myself and the mayor and Randy Haverfield explained these projects are necessary, and there's projects on the original capital improvement plan that are being pushed back in order to allow these to move forward because they are emergent projects that need to be done.
And the concerns that they had was more information given since that time to now to be able to mitigate some of their concerns about the impact fees being raised?
I think that we gave sufficient information at that meeting. I think that there was very heated discussion, and I think it was, I cannot speak for those individuals.
Thank you.
The nice thing is this is a public hearing, and so they would be able to speak to it themselves. That opportunity is before us. Any other questions? Okay. Is there?
Okay, so on the screen there, I've got a city council motion for approval. if
After
you
the
need it.
public hearing.
After public hearing.
Yes, so thank you. Okay, so this is a public hearing. And Shar?
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone signed up in advance.
Okay, so surely there is someone here that would like to comment on this public hearing. Hubert, thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Come on down, Hubert. And thank you so much for your willingness to speak tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, it's always an honor to look you in the eye and have you disagree with me.
And we are going to have you, I know that you know how to do this, so I didn't remind you, but your street address, we know your name.
My name is Hubert Osborne. My wife and I reside at 4199 East Switzer Way, Nampa, Idaho.
Thank you.
I think Patrick and his assistants have covered this pretty well. I would note that the way it is written is confusing. And also, the city attorney, Victor Vallejos, approved that, but there were no minutes for this motion that ultimately was approved, which is only for those two items in red, which you have in your packet. The other items will be discussed at a later date. And as I recall, there was no mention of fees up, down, sideways. It was merely to approve these two projects. And based on the mayor and Tom kind of coming unglued there for a minute, I have a great deal of confidence in them that this is the right thing to do to approve these projects right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Hubert. Are there any questions for Hubert? Nope. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify this evening? Sharon, thank you. As Sharon comes forward, I just want to thank her for her leadership. She chairs this committee and serves us in so many different capacities. It's appreciated. Thank you.
I'm Sharon Harris, and I live at 1612 South Miller Way, Nampa. And Mayor and council members, during this whole discussion, I think you have a very strong impact fee committee, and it's well represented with the community members. But after the presentation, I know that Hubert made the motion to adopt this motion, and I was second on that one because I felt very strongly that this had to be approved because we could not stop the city from receiving this $10 million, and it was just too important. And I know there was a lot of questions, but that's good to have it in a committee meeting. So I look forward to other projects that we'll be discussing as a committee. But it was, to me, a very strong matter that we approve. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sharon, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sharon, Mayor.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You're not getting out that easy, sister. So this is only regarding this CIP. That doesn't involve any other project or proposals coming
No.
before us? And will the Impact Fee Committee be addressing the increase, if needed, for the future impact fees for other
I believe
projects?
that's going to happen, yes, this year. Yes, and we do have a workshop that's happening this Friday, and Patrick will be taking care of that. So, yeah, we'll have some good discussions in our future meetings.
All right, good, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there any other public testimony? Is there anyone else that had intended to testify or would like to? Okay, seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council discussion. I think,
Well, I'll just make a motion to approve of a resolution to adopt the revised Streets Capital Improvement Plan and dated January 6, 2024, as presented, with an effective date of January 21, 2024.
February.
Correct. February, sorry.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I will say during, it was commented that there is a meeting this Friday. That is more of a 101. We're going to be going back over. Would you like to explain what we're doing this Friday? But the full work of the new impact fee and changes is actually going to be coming in the months to come. But this Friday's meeting will be surrounding what topic?
Yes, Mayor, I can update you, and I was going to talk to the mayor actually next week about setting up a staff update just to tell you where we're at in the whole report process, so you can be informed on that. But we are having a workshop. It is pretty much a Impact Fee 101 slideshow by Colin McElweeney with Tisha Buys Galena. That's the firm that bought Ann Galena's or Ann Westcott's company, and they're our consultant for impact fees. So we will be inviting the public to that. It's a public meeting, and we will be going over our initial growth numbers for the next 10 years based on census and also on Compass data. And then we'll also be going through state statute and ordinance and what the requirements are for impact fees. And we'll go over the different methodologies on how we figure out, or how state law allows you to have different methodologies for levels of service, whether it be lane miles or whether it be calls for fire department calls, or how many police per thousand, or how many acres per thousand. So anyway, we look forward to that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with that, there has been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, comment, or question? Seeing none, roll call.
Angula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, team. Thank you, Caleb. Doug? 8.2 is this particular public hearing. There was a request to continue it to date certain of March 18th, and I would stand for a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue 8.2 on our agenda to March 18th. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
We're ready for 8.3 on the agenda. This is an action item. It's a zoning map amendment from Industrial Park to Community Business Zoning District for a 2.94 acre parcel at 823 Park Center Way for Benjamin Pakalov. I'm probably saying it, representing Bialek Properties. This was the original concept to rezone to allow a church to locate in the building. Is our applicant here this evening? I'll let you correct your name. Thank you. Say it better than I just did, and I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing your name and address.
Sure. My name is Ben Polyakov. My address
Polyakov.
is 1750 East Summer Place Court, Meridian. Mayor and council members, I'm here today in regards to the rezone of 823 Park Center Way here in Nampa. We're just looking to have it rezoned from its current zoning, which is IP, to BC in order to permit a church to be able to gather there and use it for their needs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. So, council, do we have any questions at this time?
I do, Mayor.
Okay.
Wasn't that building already a church located in there?
No, I believe that it was the Idaho Health and Welfare Department.
Oh, I see. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so since you maybe haven't been here before, following your remarks, we'll have a staff report, and then we'll go to public hearing. And then if there are any questions that come up after public hearing, I'll have you come back and you can answer those questions. So you'll get the final opportunity to address us and answer questions.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Parker. How are you?
I am good. Thank you, Mayor and
Good.
City Council members. This is a fairly straightforward request here, a rezone from IP to BC. IP is the only zoning district that we don't allow a church in. It's been like that for quite a while. I think the vision originally was that IP industrial parks are a cohesive design that involved parking calculations and other attributes that may not fit a church. So the request here is to rezone it to allow a church into this building. Yes, this was the Health and Welfare Office, and it was annexed in 1991 to IP. I couldn't find the original building permit for the when Health and Welfare moved in. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval last month for this. Looking at surrounding uses, the post office owns the parcel in the north. There's an Endless Archery, Grover's to the west, and then a vacant lot to the south. Looking at correspondence, there's a number of things that'll need to be changed as there's a change of occupancy type in this building. So they'll need to get building permits and follow all that, as well as there potentially change in impact fees as far as with the utility hookups, additional utility hookups. ITD also had a comment about a traffic impact study that would be part of a building permit if necessary. And that's due to the change in occupancy type as well. Looking at the BC zoning, this is our general commercial zoning that allows a wide variety of uses. This is a industrial in our future land use map, but adjacent to commercial designation to the south. When considering commercial land uses, such as the BC zone, it's generally around commercial centers along arterial collector roadways. We have other commercial zoning, and the city code differentiates between those. When considering this request, I would look just beyond what the request is today for a church, as that may come and go, but future commercial uses may come in the future. So just considering that in this rezone request as well. There's a mix of commercial industrial uses. I'm sure you're all familiar with this area. It's close to a lot of services. The building is already connected to city utilities as well. As far as the conclusions, staff doesn't see any issues with the rezoning request. It appears to be compatible with the surrounding area. The conditions of approval, they need to follow the building permit process, and there's a potential motion. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Parker. Council, do you have any questions at this time? Nope, pretty straightforward. Thank you so much. So this is a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, there is no one that did an advance sign up.
Okay. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this item? Okay, seeing no one. This is an opportunity. Ben or Benjamin, do you have any closing comments or anything you'd like to share as we close? Anything more? No? Council, do you have any questions for our applicant? This is pretty straightforward. Thank you. I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what is the will of the council?
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the zoning map amendment from IP to BC zoning district for a 2.94 acre parcel R075051100 at 823 Park Center Way for Benjamin Polikoff, representing Bilek Properties. Close enough, Benjamin? Bilek Properties Incorporated, Paul Bilek, ZMA-00185-2023, with all conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, he did read that number wrong. I don't know if it matters.
Wait, okay, which number?
The first number parcel, the R075.
4051100, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we got it.
Corrected.
Correct. Okay. And with that, that was good catch. Okay.
How was that?
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Mills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
There you go. Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay, so we are ready to move back to our new business items. And we've completed 7.1 and 7.2, and we're ready for 7.3 on the agenda. And this is an action item to authorize the adoption of the Nampa Municipal Airport Construction Policy. Who would like to speak to that this evening? Or do we have any questions? No questions?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 7.4 is an action item, and it's to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution for the appointment of Peter McPherson to the Valley Regional Transit Board as a second alternate representative. They just require a resolution, and so I think we have this is a second alternate, just in case nobody can make it. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
I should have looked at his face before I made my comment, but never mind.
He was
Okay.
sweating it over there.
So then we move to 7.5 on the agenda, and this is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution and a state and local agreement for project development with the ITD, Idaho Transportation Department, for Northside Boulevard and Karcher Road Roundabout final design, and authorize the payment to Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $75,000. Mark is here to speak to this if there are any questions. It has been reviewed by Joe Borden, and it is approved in the FY24 budget.
So moved.
Excellent.
Is that a second?
Was that a second?
That's a big second.
An excellent second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Does it have to be a roundabout?
It actually
Yes.
does.
Yes.
It actually does.
Okay, yes.
Excellent. Yes.
Griffin.
Very happy to say yes to a roundabout.
Mills.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So I was going to say something, but I won't. 7.6 on the agenda is an action item.
Well, that'd be a first.
Yeah. Staff is requesting authorization to exceed the FY24 budget for road salt procurement and direction to either purchase a 2-year supply in the amount of $175,450 or a 3-year supply in the amount of $255,200. The funding for either will be from the Streets Division, and a budget amendment will be required to go ahead and do this. But as you saw in your packet, we went through our salt supply, and it's down, and while the prices just go up, and we're realizing we're needing to have a higher minimum on hand, and the question is, do we want to go ahead and supply enough for 2 years, or do we want to move to a 3-year? So Caleb, you're going to answer questions, right? Council, do you have questions on this?
I'll just make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Which one? 3 years or a 3-year supply?
Yeah, the 3-year one.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward and purchase a 3-year supply in the amount of $255,200.
I have a question then for Doug.
Okay.
So where are the dollars coming from, and how much are we talking about to have as a budget amendment?
It is from the Streets Division Fund.
No, but you didn't
the
say how
amount
much
of the budget
Yeah,
amendment.
so on the funds for this, what we typically do is what I like to do, when we've got a budget overspend, it's going to come from either a fund balance use of within streets, meaning we're pulling that, or from other existing budgetary authority. If we can get through the year without doing an amendment, and they can cover this by other coverages, then that's what we'll do. If we get to the end and we find out, hey, we're not going to make the budgetary approvals that we put in place, then we'll do an amendment to recover the expense. But it will either come from fund balance or a shifting in what they have to spend in other projects.
So are we required to have a budget amendment for either a 2 or a 3 year?
Well,
yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yes. Yeah. If it's a 3-year contract, we will budget that primarily in each successive year for the correct amount.
So how much would the budget amendment be? Do you have an idea?
Actually, can I just real
please,
quickly, Doug?
please.
I'm thinking this is a one-time purchase, and so it's
That's what my
going to
understanding
exceed.
was.
It's a one-time purchase, and it'll be $255,000 this year. The reason the budget amount is not identified is that if they are under in the streets department by a certain dollar amount, that will offset the amount they have to ask for. So we'll identify later in the year what the actual budget amendment is. It may be 255, or it may come in less than that. Yeah.
Exactly, Mayor. What I don't want to do is put a budget amendment in and then get to the end of the year and find out we have a favorable budget of $400,000, and I could have gotten by without the amendment. Or we could have as a city.
So we'll make that determination later then.
Yes.
Right.
So the fact that it's a part of the staff recommendation this evening is only to give us a heads up that it might be coming at a later time.
Right. It's an overspend. It's a significant overspend, but it's a heads up for you guys. We'll try and manage it without, but if we've got, you've approved certain projects tonight that have to do with roundabouts, so to speak. So if those projects come in at their full budgetary authority and we can't find the savings elsewhere, then we will need an amendment.
Words mean things then. Where it says this will necessitate, it should have said this might necessitate.
Probably.
That's a Sebastian pickup, so.
I would not deny
that. Say that, and I beat him too.
I would not deny the verbiage. But here's the reality. In the past 3 or 4 years since I've been here, in total, streets has always had excess capacity at the end of the year.
I think what the reason for the will be is that we are exceeding the budgetary authority for this purchase.
Of
It
this
is
line
not
item,
approved in the FY24 budget. We are exceeding budgetary authority, and so it was just a call out that it's not approved in the FY24 budget. We're exceeding budget authority, and so yes, it could have said instead of will, may require.
Right, may require.
But in this line item, it is out of budget, right? Okay, any further, go ahead. Any further discussion?
I had a question, and I'm totally in support of having a 3-year supply rather. Do we each year hit our capacity? Do we put salt down, or have we carried this surplus for 6 years since Snowmageddon, and then we just used it all this year? Or how has the trend been in the past? I know it's a frivolous question, but I'm curious.
Councilman Griffin, so if you look at Exhibit A on this line, on this item we're talking about, there's actually a breakdown there for the last 8 to 9 years, and you'll see the amount of salt that's been ordered in those years. So it's averaged out to about 1,000 tons a year has been the average.
Mayor. So Caleb, where does the salt come from?
You mean our supplier?
Yeah, who's your supplier?
I don't know that answer.
So is it
I'm
in
sorry.
state or out of state?
I'm not sure. I could look into that and get that information to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any further questions or any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mills.
You.
I thought you said Dell, not Bills. Okay. Yes.
Reynolds.
It was hard
Yes.
to know.
Haverfield.
It was 3 years, correct?
I moved on to the
Yes.
next item.
Yes.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 7.7 is an action item to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign a task order amendment for the attached scope of work Exhibit A with Keller Associates. This is to provide additional design services, permit acquisition and construction engineering and inspection services for the elevated tank well 8 booster station replacement project in the amount of $315,520, time and material not to exceed.
So moved.
Second.
Question.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Mayor
Question?
Quinn?
Yes.
Just confirm, this is just being paid by impact fees, correct?
No, it's in the budget, but this is just a task order amendment in this dollar amount. And so this is not the full thing.
Okay.
It's just an amendment to the task order, which had to do with I'm trying to remember. It was a failure or thank you. Uranium that was identified, and because of the uranium, there was additional costs incurred and testing incurred because of that. And that's why this addendum or amendment to the existing contract.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, yes.
So Caleb, can you come forward then? My question was any of these services a part of their original contract? Are these supplemental services to what they were already contracted to provide?
Great question, Councilman Haverfield. Some of these are new services, so I'll direct you to Exhibit A as part of this item, and it gives you a breakdown of those tasks and the adjustments to those tasks. So these are amendments to tasks that were already in place within the contract, but there was details within those tasks that were out of scope. The big one was uranium. So in our testing of the well and our water supply in that area, new regulations with Idaho DEQ, we had some elevated uranium levels that we needed to deal with. And so that caused a big design change in the
So none of
tank
that
up
was
there.
known going into their solicitation?
That was unknown, yeah. So this project started in 2018. We're now 2024. So a lot of things have changed regulation-wise in that span. One of those was uranium, and so that's where that came into play. Some of the other reasons for the cost increase is because we didn't anticipate the project to take this long. I think the original schedule was to have it completed by 2022. Or at least construction started by 2022 is what I understand. And so some of that has caused for some additional management costs with our consultant, and then construction fees, those have increased a bit because we have an extended construction period than what was anticipated originally.
So assistance with the building permit was not a part of their original scope of work?
Oh, let me see that specific item here.
I'm just, generally, there just seem to be some things that would normally be included in a professional contract for construction administration assistance. So if uranium, an unforeseen condition had come up and that was something that was added to their scope of work, I could see that. But I was just wondering some of the basic services that they would be providing. Are we talking about major changes in what they were already obligated to provide as a part of their scope of work?
The major changes was the uranium and the duration of the project that led to changes in the contract management and the construction
Do
management.
you feel comfortable with the increase?
We do feel comfortable with it. Some of this scope and some of this cost has actually already been incurred by our consultant, and because we had to move forward with the uranium issues. So we're comfortable with the increase. Obviously, we want to avoid any increase. That's always our goal with any project, but in this situation, it was unavoidable.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Caleb, thank you. I think Daniel, did you have a comment? We saw you unmute. There you go.
No, I'm fine. Caleb handled that fine.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Caleb, you have done a phenomenal job tonight. Thank you. I'm so impressed. I mean, it's like if you look at page such and such, you've got it. Thank you. Really great job. Okay, yes.
I want to disclose that I did have a sidebar with Doug, and I meant to say ARPA money initially at the whole project, but if there's $315,000, then I think Doug needs to tell everybody what he told me. So.
Thank you.
It's just the funding. The way we set this up in the beginning, the funding for this project, the water tower and so forth, partially funded by ARPA, partially funded by water projects. So not impact fees, but a portion of ARPA funds are being used. And this is what we presented to the council last time, the total usage of ARPA funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Okay, so there is a motion and a second on the table. We've had considerable discussion. Is there any additional discussion or any further questions? Bless you. Good discussion point there, right? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Our last new business item is actually an action item. This was to consider the amending Nampa City Code 2221D, which defines the term of the council president as a biennial term. And so we had a discussion early on about that, and there was some recommendation to move it to an annual vote annually. And so we wanted to at least come back and put it on the council agenda and ask the council if they wanted to take any action or make any changes to our ordinance. It would require a change in ordinance. If you recommend a change, that would come back with an amended ordinance at a future council meeting. So I guess I'm just throwing it out there because it was a point of discussion.
So Mayor, I think it would be beneficial if it went to an annual and give flexibility based on what Nampa has experienced with the number of appointments over the last several years and change-ups and some having to step down from their term. So I think it'd be beneficial, and it just provides flexibility.
Okay.
So I just have, Mayor, I just have a question, and this is for the two council presidents that have served thus far. Do you feel that it's something that on an annual basis you would be able to grasp and hold on to and be effective in just a year if there was a year that you were thrown in and then a year switch up?
Madam Mayor, I can answer that for him.
I think that he's looking for feedback from you both. Thank you.
So, Councilman Griffin, originally, I had this discussion with another council member, and I thought the 1 year would be a good idea to mix it up. After doing this for a little bit of time, I feel like that it should be, the consistency should be left in the 2-year time frame. There's a lot that goes into it with if you apply yourself to it with the payables and then the council prep and the different things that go into it. I mean, if you don't apply yourself to it, then it could be real easy. But if you do apply yourself to the position, there's a lot that goes into it, and I feel like the consistency of having the 2-year time frame is better for staff, and I think it's overall better served for the city.
So Mayor, comment?
Yes.
So if we went to a 1 year, it doesn't preclude somebody serving 2 years. It just simply, if there's a change-up needed or desired, that it's not enough. I mean, to me, it just seems like it would simplify and provide flexibility for those moments and times.
Madam Mayor, follow-up. So originally, I think Todd had sent some draft language out about the 1 year. And in that, it said that if you were elected for a 1 year term, you couldn't serve concurrent terms. Is that just the language that you provided, or is that how it has to be?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Reynolds, the state code gives you a lot of flexibility. It just says you put it in your ordinance. I think those were just sample language about how other cities handle it, potentially. And I'd say it's probably the most common, the biennial, but there are annuals out there. There are also cities that have a term limit, essentially, so they want some rotation. So really, it's kind of up to you. Those were really just examples of different ways to approach it.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question. Is there, I guess for Doug, is there a financial component with switching council members around? Because I know you have to go to the bank and become a signer and things like that. Is there anything?
Pardon me. Yes, there is a degree of that, but we have a fairly effective process to change accounts as needed. And I review all the signers on a periodic basis just to make sure that as we move people around, not just in the council but across the city, we have the right signers in the right places at all times. It's a minor inconvenience.
But no real fiscal impact. No fiscal impact, yeah.
Mayor, I think just from hearing a little bit of the feedback and from previous thoughts about the topic, I don't think it hurts any having it be an annual vote and an annual discussion, just because then it could be re-reviewed or reconsidered. I don't think there should be a term limit aspect on it. If somebody wants to continue to serve and the council's will is to keep a president on, then it should be that. And I definitely would not want to see anything that says that we have to switch it up every year if the motion gets proposed. That's something that I would like to see in it.
Say that again. You would be in support of it or not in support?
I would be in support of an annual election for council president without having a term limit aspect and without requiring a switch up every year. They could serve concurrently or back to back or whatever the legal phrase is, if they so choose. But I think the discussion is important for individuals. If there is a difference of opinions or difference of leadership approach, that if somebody is wanting or willing at a year, maybe to have the discussion. But that's just from previous thoughts. I will not be the motion maker on that, but that is something that I would like to see.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Haverfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, when the election took place in January, there was a stated request to allow others to have opportunity. I seconded the motion. I think that's, as far as leadership development, that's just something that is awfully important to develop. The office of the president is a title. It's nothing that carries a whole lot of weight other than if you're unavailable to be in this meeting, that person fulfills your responsibility of just maintaining the order of the evening. We're talking about two different things when we're talking about Office of the President and continuity of government in the event that there's a catastrophe that takes place. If you're unavailable for a period of time, it doesn't go to the Office of the President. It goes to the person that's on council that has the tenure. So that doesn't free me up from the responsibility that I've always taken seriously as far as in sitting here. Someone else will take that responsibility when I'm off council. But going forward, I know that hopefully, God forbid, if anything were ever to take place for continuity of government, there is a process in place, and we have an ordinance for that. So the Office of the President, from my standpoint, again, it's a title in a sense, but it doesn't make me any different, or never made me any different than anybody else on this council. I'm one vote of 6. I'm just in a available position of being on the bench in the event that you're having to take off, which has happened a few times. So going forward, I would agree that an annual renewal makes sense because it does allow others opportunity to step forward and see the roles that office affords itself, but it's really not that, at least from my standpoint, it never was that difficult. The difficult times are the additional commission assignments that you take on. Being on the NDC, being on the wastewater treatment. I mean, those are time associated that had nothing to do with being president of the council.
Well, but interviews and certain times that the president of the council does sit in a whole lot of extra meetings just because by position you get put there. Yeah.
I take that back. That
Yeah.
was time.
There were
that
just a
was
few
associated with it.
extras.
Yeah. So again, I think that there was a statement or a stated request for that the city of Meridian uses an annual renewal. So I'm for it because that was the stated desire.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay.
Good.
So what is the will of the council? It sounds like, I think we probably need a motion, and the motion would be that we bring back an ordinance reflecting the desired change. If someone were to make, and if I could just restate what I think I heard, unless you don't need me to, the support for the annual, but I think as Councilman Griffin said, right, not necessarily having it doesn't have to be, and it can be they can be reappointed and no term limits.
I think the word would be, it doesn't preclude a person having success their
Correct, there you go.
terms.
Would you like to make that motion?
I'd make the motion that we revise the ordinance to allow for annual appointment on council president with such service allowed to continue if that be the desire of the council and not preclude somebody from having successing service.
And what about term limits?
No term limits.
No term limits. That's the way you were wording and what you're intending. Okay, just clarifying. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have the clarity we need?
I think so, Mayor. Just for simplicity, all it will simply say is there'll be an annual election for council president, and then it's an annual election. You don't have to say anything about anything else, term limits or whatever.
Pretty simple to write, huh?
So just point of clarity then, so because Dale was elected or appointed, if you will, during the last term verbiage, does that mean that he's in for 2, right? And this would be in effect after his 2 years?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Jangula, you can, knowing there was conversation about that as part of the election, you can also, you control that office, so it's not like something where you're elected to sit in the seat by the people, so to speak. The council president is elected by the council, so I think you can modify that in the interim, and you just need to decide how you want to do that. If you want to make it an effective date with the first election being January 2025, you can do that. However you want us to write the ordinance.
Follow the election cycle too. January.
Yeah, so if there needs to be an amendment, it would amend that the next election would be January 25.
Second.
Okay. I'm good. It's up to you guys. So I'm looking to you for the guidance. Okay, so I believe we just amended the motion, both the motion maker and the second, to make it effective January of 25.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. If there's no further discussion, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our new business items, and our public hearings have finished, so we're going to move to unfinished business. And we will start with, well, actually, item 9.1 was pulled from the agenda and will come back at a future date, so we will not address that. And starting with action item 9.2, this is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to RS 6 for .75 acres of right-of-way and 6.1 acres of developable land, and Community Business Zoning District for 3.29 acres for Audrey Acres subdivision at 941 Lake Lowell Avenue. And this is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
She has to read it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's okay. You're not,
My second time.
you're not the first one
followed your
that's done
shoes.
that, yeah.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands in Nampa, Idaho, comprising approximately 10.14 acres, more or less, lay contiguous to the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the City of Nampa, and that 6.10 acres be zoned RS6, single-family residential, and that 4.01 acres be zoned BC Community Business Zoning Districts, the remaining land being right-of-way, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said annexation and zoning are in the best interest of the public and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the City of Nampa and to designate said property as RS6 single-family residential and BC Community Business Zoning Districts on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for recordation, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement entered into between the applicant and the City of Nampa, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
So I would move that we would suspend the 3 readings and approve the ordinance
Under suspension.
under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield. Griffin.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 9.3 is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance for vacation of an existing utility easement on a .899 acre undeveloped parcel in a BC zoning district located at 012th Avenue. For Connor Cadrian, it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
And on to the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, vacating a portion of a utility easement located on the property generally described as 012th Avenue, Nampa, Idaho, parcel R1165301, consisting of approximately .899 acres, more or less, located in the northeast 1/4 of Section 34, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, more particularly described below in Napa, Canyon County, Idaho, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map and other applicable maps accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Who would like to make the motion?
Make a motion to pass the ordinance as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
9.4 is an action item, and this is the first reading of ordinance for the City of Nampa confirming the assessment role for the Local Improvement District number 170, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, confirming the assessment role for Local Improvement District number 170.
So moved to approve under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 9.5 is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance for the zoning map amendment to suburban residential zoning district from suburban residential to limited multifamily residential at 1157 South Powerline Road. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
And known to the City of Nampa, Idaho, to provide an RML Limited Multiple Family Residential Zone designation for a portion of certain lands commonly known as 1157 South Powerline Road, Nampa, Idaho, County Parcel R1174201, comprising approximately 0.92 acres, more or less, determining that said zoning is the best interest of the citizens and consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, rezoning said property from RA Suburban Residential to RML Limited Multiple Family Residential, providing for recordation, resolution instructing the city engineer to designate said property as RML Limited Multiple Family Residential on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement entered into between the applicant and the city of Napa, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Pingula?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
We do have an executive session this evening, and I would stand for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061C to acquire an interest in real property not owned by a public agency.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Pingula?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Reynolds? Haverfield?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.